Guys, welcome to the first ever Marvel Now panel that we can actually, I think it's the first ever Marvel Now panel ever. Welcome guys, well here. We're going to introduce the folks on the panel here. We're going to share with you some cool news. I might even have a really cool video game trailer for you that the little guy dressed as Deadpool will enjoy, but probably isn't allowed to play. And then we're going to take your questions, and we'll probably tell you a lot if we can't tell you yet, but they'll be told really well. So first up, the man with the best face in comics, Mr. Axel Alonso. Look at him. Our editor-in-chief next. You know him as the man with the best palette in comics. He's our SVP of Creator and Content Development, Mr. Cebulski. Look at him. The man with one of the best wives in comics, Emily, Mr. Nick Lowe. X-Men.
Hello, Toronto.
Hello. The only challenger for the title of Best Looking Man in Comics, playing the role of Steve Wacker, John Hamm. If he was here, he'd probably scare you and beat you up and look really cool doing it, Mr. Assad Ribic. He's probably stuck in the lines. Also, because he is so vast and infinite, and because I forgot to Google a picture, Mr. Tony Moore. It's a metaphor for your skills, they're limitless. And then finally myself, Arune Singh. Hey guys.
Bred in Canada.
Born and bred in Canada for the cheap heat. All right, so Marvel Now, if you haven't heard what it is, this is a huge, huge initiative. Beginning in October, in the aftermath of Avengers and X-Men, we're essentially relaunching the Marvel Universe. This is not a reboot. Everything you read actually matters. It's still in continuity. We're not giving everybody collars. And we're going to be launching, that works, new #1 series for all our major characters almost weekly from October through now what looks like will be March. These are going to be the top creative teams of the top characters telling the stories they want to tell. Something, Axel, you've been driving very heavily. Why don't you talk about the content of the Marvel Now books?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. As a young kid, I used to go to the Five and Dime with my grandmother every Friday and pick up a different comic book. And each one was a different flavor, you know, whether it was, you know, the angst of Hulk or the fun swinging, you know, of Spider-Man or Kung Fu action. And I think what's really cool about this initiative is that what we've done is we've used the end of AVX as a jumping on point, a ramp up for a relaunch that's line wide. And we've encouraged all of our artists and writers, all of our creative teams to do hostile takeovers of what existed before. So, you know, whoever's coming in to take over Captain America is not trying to do a duplication of what Ed did, but something completely different. And I think it's going to just blast off the racks.
And CB, I mean, this is your bread and butter. You're a content and creator guy. What makes it so exciting for you, for someone who's been here for a very long time at Marvel?
I mean, this is on. Okay, you know, this is something that, you know, it's been a long time coming. I think the last time some like initiative of this scale has been undertaken was when, you know, 10, 12 years ago when you and Joe came on board. And, you know, Marvel's always had a very simple philosophy in what we do. It's great creators, great characters, great comics. And this just really goes back to that. It's like Arune said, putting the A-list talent, the best guys we could find, teaming up people who might not have worked together, you know, coming up with these crazy combos of artists and writers who might not work together. Styles might not even match, but they're coming together to just create magic on some of these books. It's just been phenomenal to watch.
So as part of Marvel Now is part of something we announced earlier this year called the Marvel Re-Evolution. What we're doing is we're evolving every aspect of our publishing business from what we're doing in the digital comics area with Marvel Augmented Reality and the new format we call Infinite Comics for digital storytelling. To, you know, including digital download codes for a free copy of all the $3.99 books you buy. And in addition, we're looking at evolving our content. This is part of it. The best creators, the best characters in new directions. We're also going to, happy to say, if you guys haven't downloaded the Marvel AR app, it's completely free. What augmented reality is if you have a smartphone or a tablet with a camera, you hold it up to comics that have the Marvel AR logo, and you'll get cool behind-the-scenes videos, images, information. It's like DVD Blu-rays without having to buy anything else and just using what you have, using your existing, you know, smartphone. And so, for example, you hold up your smartphone with the Marvel AR app open to Avengers vs. X-Men, any cover, you'll get a quick recap video of what's happened before. If you look at some issues, you'll get like a cool video about an astrophysicist explaining why Cyclops couldn't scream in space, or or behind the scenes showing when John Romita drew a different looking Hawkeye than he was supposed to. It's really cool stuff. It's all free. It adds a value to everything you buy, and every book in the Marvel Now initiative will have that. So it's going to be some really exciting stuff, and all the books in Marvel Now that are priced at $3.99 will have a code for a free digital copy of that issue that you can redeem through the Marvel Comics app. So we definitely want to give you guys as much value as we can for all these books, because we know you guys only have so many choices to make each month, and we're glad to choose Marvel. On that note, let's switch over to talking about some of the big books that we're launching. The flagship book of this initiative, Uncanny Avengers #1 by Rick Remender and John Cassidy. Let's hear it for Rick Remender and for John, guys. Come on. In the aftermath of Avengers vs. X-Men, Captain America and Wolverine have to put together a new squad of Avengers and X-Men to deal with some unique threats that arise. Axel, what else can you tell us about the series?
There's not much we can say without spoiling the ending of AVX, but the Marvel Universe is going to be very transformed by the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. And we're excited about this book because this team is put together to deal with a specific threat. But in the course of their first mission, they're going to realize that there's so much more to do, so much more ahead. I'm very excited about it. The fact that John Cassidy, they would lure him out of retirement, semi-retirement, to draw a Marvel book, says a lot about our confidence in the series.
Yeah. And another thing about this one that I think is really important is that with the first issue of Uncanny Avengers, you're going to see firsthand that this is not a reboot. Nothing was broken with the Marvel Universe. We don't have to, fix anything. It's just, shaking up our creators and going in some new directions. But it's very much the same continuity, the same stories you've been reading. You don't have to worry about those not mattering anymore or anything like that. It's the same story. It's not a reboot.
And so the villain, as Axel alluded to, will be the Red Skull, but a whole new eviler kind of Red Skull. I think Rick is saying it's the pure Nazi evil Red Skull, because he wasn't evil enough before. You need the pure Nazism in there. So he's got a new group of characters helping him out called the S-Men, who you can see in the background there, and it could be some very, very cool stuff. Also in October is something called Marvel Now .1. If you remember Marvel .1 last year, that was a prelude of sorts to Avengers vs. X-Men. You first heard about the series, and you saw the new Nova in that. And this .1 this issue is probably even bigger than that one. You have some of the best creators in comics: Brian Bendis, Jeff Lowe, Bat Fraction, Kieran Gillen, Nick Spencer, Dennis Hopeless, a ton of major creators here, and telling important new stories about characters like Ant-Man, Cable, Star-Lord, some of our teen heroes, and Nova. And let me tell you guys, this is very important. It's going to help show you the new shape of the Marvel Universe and launch some new ongoing series as well. And the first time you're going to hear about this series or see them will be in this book. There's some major, major stuff. And the new Nick Fury, who you see on the cover there, is going to take on a very important role in the Marvel Universe.
Another cool thing, there's a lot of stuff in this book that we haven't announced yet that these are stories that are leading into. You'll see some of them. Did you announce any of them?
Oh, we have not announced any of them.
Well, there's Ant-Man on there, which is Matt Fraction and Mike Allred, the story they're doing, which is kind of a prelude to their FF book. But the rest of them we haven't announced yet, so it's some really cool preludes to things you don't even know what they are yet.
And another new series launching in October is called A+X. We're so clever, Nick. Tell us about A+X.
A+X exists basically because AVX Versus did so well, and we enjoyed doing it so much, and the fans embraced it so much, and so we wanted to keep that sort of thing going. So in AVX Versus, there are 2 10-page stories for every issue with top talent telling stories with the best characters that Marvel has to offer. And A+X is going to follow up on that, and you're going to have an Avenger and an X-Men together in each 10-page story. And we've got a who's who of comics creators. We've got Jeff Lowe and Dale Keown doing a Wolverine and Hulk story. And we've got Dan Slott and Ron Garney doing a Captain America Cable story. In issue 2, we've got Kari Andrews doing a Spider-Man Beast story. And we've got Peter David and Mike Del Mundo doing a Kitty Pryde and Iron Man story, which is so good.
So Nick, I need to talk to you about something.
Let's do it.
So I heard Brian Bendis is taking over the X-Men.
He is.
So this is the same guy who had wanted to declare no more mutants.
Yes.
The same guy who's put the mutants through the ringer just writing the Avengers books.
Affirmative.
What the hell were you thinking?
I hate myself and the mutants.
Well, the first thing he's doing is bringing back the original X-Men. Are you telling me Jean Grey is back in the Marvel Universe?
She is. All 5 of the original X-Men, Jean Grey, Scott Summers, Hank McCoy, Warren Worthington, Bobby Drake, they are all coming to the present day of the Marvel U. We can't tell you much more than that because there's a lot that has to do with the fallout of AVX in there, but that's something that we can tell you, and that's the high concept, the real hook that as soon as it came up at a retreat, we all just gravitated towards it, and Brian jumped at a chance to tell that story, and it is so good.
So Axel and CB, I know you guys are talking about new stuff and you know, shocking fans with big decisions. I think people online are still talking, whether they like this or hate this, about this change. Brian is the biggest writer in comics. What makes him such a good fit for the X-Men?
I think Brian really excelled with giving readers a ground's eye view of the Marvel Universe, you know, the world unfolding through the eyes of a young character, you know. Ultimate Spider-Man would be a great example of that. And, you know, this story very much focuses on the young X-Men from the Lee and Kirby era. You know, they grew up, you know, aspiring to live in a world that was, you know, Xavier's dream. And they're going to come into a world that's very different from that. So it's going to be very interesting for these characters to see what this world has become and see visions of themselves, versions of themselves. I mean, imagine you're young Jean Grey coming into the present to find out you died. And you got Wolverine over there looking at you kind of weird.
It's not going that way, folks. Don't worry. Steve, you look like you were going to say something. Okay.
He just likes leaning close to me.
We'd be remiss in not mentioning the awesome art of Canada's own Stuart Immonen, who is killing on this book. Here, Stuart, folks.
He is reinventing himself on this book, and it is amazing the amount of work he's putting in the detail. People are going to be stunned. And Marte Gracia and Wade Von Graubadger, Wade's on inks and Marte's on colors. So if you like the Infinite comic, the first Infinite comic, that was Marte coloring Stewart, and it is phenomenal, and you won't look at Stewart the same way again.
Who did that cool new logo?
That is Jared Fletcher, logo master Jared
That's a
Fletcher.
beautiful logo.
Isn't that cool?
All right, guys. Now another big book. You might have heard of this guy as a movie coming out next year. Iron Man kicks off again in November with writer Kieran Gillen, who you know from Journey into Mystery and Uncanny X-Men, and artist Greg Land, who worked with Kieran on Uncanny X-Men. This is, I'll say this, and you guys probably feel the same way. Greg Land, I know people are very opinionated about his art. He is incredible. CB, how did you guys land on Greg Land for this? I would never have thought of him for Iron Man, but he's perfect.
You know, Greg didn't think he was going to be right for it either, to be honest, when we first approached him with it. But after reading the scripts and coming around and playing around with some armor designs and really getting a feel for the Iron Man armor, he jumped at the chance because it's such a good story. So the artwork, the story kind of sold itself to Greg.
If you guys remember, you know that moment in Iron Man 1 when he blows up the terrorists, which is, yeah, terrorists. And then he walks away and they have the heavy metal soundtrack in the background. That's what this book is, but the volume turned up high. It is just awesome. I've had the pleasure of reading the first 2 issues. Actually, I think we're all in the office really, really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and it goes without saying that Greg and Kieran have a really great chemistry that they built working on several issues of Uncanny X-Men.
Now, next we have X-Men Legacy by Simon Spurrier, an Eisner Award-winning artist whose name I'll mangle, Tan Anh Huat.
Yep, Tan Anh Huat.
And so, and this tells, and then with a really, really cool patchwork cover
By Mike Del Mundo.
Yeah, very cool. And
Yep.
it is
Toronto bought and owns him.
and it stars Legion. Nick, what can you tell us about this?
Yep. Well, this book it's kind of a hostile takeover of the X-Men Legacy book. Rogue has been the center of that for a long time, and Professor X before that. And this is a big 180, a turn, and this book is crazy. If anyone knows Cy Spurrier's work, you know that he brings huge ideas, and this is some of his biggest ideas on the page. And Tan Anh Huat is definitely up to the task because he's also a lunatic artist. But it's a really, really cool book that I can't tell you much more because it has to do with some of the events of AVX and the end of AVX that you'll get to see more as the months come along.
So I don't want to do this next slide myself. Kid Deadpool, can you come up here and help me with this? I think I need your help with this. Right, so we got a new Deadpool series by Brian Posehn, Jerry Duggan, and our own Tony Moore right here. I really feel like you should be asking him questions about the book because this really impacts you a lot more than me.
Not the Merc with the mouth.
No. Or we can
Deadpool, why don't you ask what happens? Deadpool, why don't you ask what happens in the book?
Ask what happens.
This fat bull. Come up here, fat bull.
Other Deadpool, come on up too. Join us. We'll have a Deadpool core up here.
I think it's that side.
Take your time, Deadpool. I'm sorry, you're not fat, you're just bulky. I mean it.
Facebook.com/ChubbyDeadpool.
Thanks, Chubby Deadpool.
The creepiest thing I heard last
Yes,
night.
yes.
Well, first of all, I've seen both variants of the cover, and I was just wondering, explain some of the changes there in the costume and such.
Well, anytime I approach something new, I try to figure out how to best wrap my head around it. And there's a lot of fun stuff to play with in Deadpool's costume, but I kind of felt the need to streamline it a little bit, kind of streamline some of the gear, make it a little more familiar to the like tactical web gear and stuff that I was familiar with. And
Now, I've kind of noticed the X Games boots there and the rollerblading armbands. What's the deal with that, dude?
those are ninja gauntlets. As assassins with katana blades, you should know that. Yeah, that's true. They are X Games boots. Because I didn't really think anklets.
All right, and does the dude is he gonna wake up one day and the pinky's back and he knows his healing factor's back, or what's going on with that, man?
What's going on, man?
You're gonna have to wait and see. Read the end of Daniel Way's
Yeah, I'm
run.
going with the mic and the swords. Answer the goddamn question.
I
We have to come clean.
Facebook.com/ChubbyDeadpool.
He's gonna get his healing factor back. So, yeah.
I have a question for you. So in this story, if you guys don't know Brian Posehn, Google him, you'll be like, oh, I totally know that guy.
Sarah Silverman show. Dude's funny.
And Jerry's hilarious, they're great. Now in the story, the dead U.S. presidents come back to life as evil zombies, and Deadpool has to kill them. Don't worry, no Canadian folks. But Deadpool, which dead president are you most excited to kill again?
Nixon, that last bastard.
You'll be very happy, I think, with issue 3. Deadpool, thank you very much.
Another tasteful comic from the House of Ideas.
Here for Deadpool, folks. Guys, real quick. If you like these Deadpools, you'll like even more playing the new Deadpool video game coming out. I have to show you the censored trailer because your parents might get mad at me otherwise for the things I'd show you and the language you'd hear. So let's play the trailer.
Hey, internets, we got a video for you to see.
Ooh, is it the video with the 2 girls?
Whoa there, chap. Not safe for work.
Oh man, those are our favorite videos!
No, we love videos set to melodramatic music and slow motion.
We love videos with boobies!
So is this a video or what?
It's a game!
A game starring yours truly. Come on, let's scratch that Deadpool itch.
Bang, bang, bang! Bang, bang, bang!
Bouncy. Or bouncy.
Best ride ever!
Open wide. Now let's be honest. I'm not the only one with a little bit of shit in their pants right now, am I? So, that itch satisfied enough for you?
Actually, if you could just reach down and...
Oh, hey! Thanks, dudes. We'll be in touch. Call me. Suck it, Wolverine.
We've seen the uncensored trailer. We got to see a bit more of it at the latest Marvel retreat. You probably should not play this, or may not be allowed to purchase it if you're not an adult. But if you're an adult, you're gonna have such a good time. Like, whatever you want for a Deadpool game, it's in here. Daniel Way wrote the game, so you know it's gonna be the Deadpool you love. And it's some really awesome stuff. So buy that. Buy the new Deadpool comic. You'll be very happy. Now switching over to someone who also has a few anger management issues. The Indestructible Hulk. Mark Eisner Award-winning Mark Waid has a great new take on the Hulk, joined by a sensational artist, Laniel Yu. Axel, I know when they pitched this at the retreat, everybody just said that's the perfect Hulk story. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, Mark just pitched one of those stories that you just go, why didn't I think of that? I think it's safe to say his pitch was the one that went through the gauntlet just with no bruises at all. Because when we pitch things, we beat them up. It's like a hazing. And we just loved it from the word go. And it evolved over time, like that little robot you're seeing over on the right, you're going to learn to love.
Yeah, CB, this is sort of a dream team for Hulk. Neil has done some really great Hulk stories in the past. Mark is on fire with Daredevil. When casting a book like this, you think, what's the secret to finding that dream team?
It's just certain things have to come together. There's no real formula. But with Laniel, we asked Laniel who are your favorite characters, and he loves Wolverine, he loves Hulk. He did both of them in the Ultimate Wolverine vs. Hulk series with Damon Lindelof. And he said he was the one who wanted to come and play in the Marvel Universe if they have the opportunity to draw the Bruce Banner Hulk, in the 616 universe. And when the opportunity came up, Mark loved the idea when we threw it out there, and put those two together, and
they've worked together in the past. Yeah. They did a beautiful Superman book about 10 years ago that's unfortunately been completely cast aside. But
Superman Birthright.
Yeah, Laniel and Mark have a special magic together, and I've seen some of this, and they've recaptured it.
Now, speaking of dream teams, guys, Captain America, beginning in November by Rick Remender and John Romita Jr. That's a fantastic logo. And that's going to be a really, really great book. One of the things Rick has been saying in interviews is that Ed Brubaker did a great job in the series. Let's hear for Ed Brubaker and what he's done for Captain America. And he doesn't want to do what Ed did. He's not going to be telling stories that are in World War II or espionage stories. He wants to chart his own path. If you guys have read some of his indie work, like Fear Agent and some of the crazy stuff he's done, and even stuff like X-Force, Rick has an imagination that's incomparable, and he's going to be taking Cap out of his comfort zone, beefing up Arnim Zola in a really important way, and Johnny is drawing the heck out of this, isn't he, CB?
It's amazing. It's John Jr. It doesn't get any better.
And if he was here, we're going to cheer extra loud for Assad. We're going to talk about his book now, Thor, God of Thunder. Let's hear for Assad Ribic, who what's not here, whatever it is. For Jason Aaron, who you guys love from Wolverine and the X-Men, you love from Incredible Hulk, you might love from the recently wrapped up Scalped, which is an incredible series if you are over 18. And he has a really great take on Thor involving the God Butcher, a God-killing serial killer. And the story takes place with Thor in the present, Thor in the past, Thor in the future in a really exciting way. Axel, what else do you think you can say about this? I know last time when he talked about this at the retreat, everyone was just blown away by the scope of the series and what he has planned.
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, I think that Jason's got a huge imagination, and it takes on even more scope when Assad draws it. Anybody that remembers one of Assad's first Marvel works, or his first Marvel work was a series called Loki, which reimagined the dynamic between Loki and Thor, and it's a classic to this day. So for me, it's a personal dream project to pair these two. I wanted to see them together. They collaborated, I think, at one point on what was it?
They did Wolverine a point one together that Assad penciled.
Exactly. He had great chemistry, and they wanted to work together again. And when Jason got Thor, Assad was just the obvious choice. He really wanted to return to the character. And if any of you have seen the pages we previewed online, they're amazing. Where do you see them colored?
If Led Zeppelin were a comic book, this is what it would be. It's amazing.
A bit of Black Sabbath too. Yeah.
It is. I haven't questioned my self-worth
as much as when I've seen those pages. It is a beautiful book and like slam dunk recruiting.
So Thor 1, you will question your self-worth.
That's a selling point. Now, guys, we've talked a lot about the Avengers characters. The other place you can see them, and we don't have art to show you quite yet, will be in the new in Avengers, a new series beginning in December by Jonathan Hickman, who you guys know reinvented the Fantastic Four for a new generation, and then also with art by Jerome Pena, who was absolutely killing it on Uncanny X-Force. And their mission for that book, and Axel and CB, tell me if I'm wrong, is to go big. The Avengers mission will get bigger. The roster is going to be about 18 characters. A lot of female characters, a lot of really great diversity, all the stuff coming very naturally to the story that a real global story that Jonathan is telling. And the sister book to that will be New Avengers, series kicking off in January with a bit more of the secretive side of what some of the Avengers are up to. Axel, I know we're all excited about the launch. When Jonathan explained his, 20-year plan or something for this book, it sounded like, and I'm exaggerating a bit, of course, we were all just blown away by it. What do you think made him such a great fit now for the Avengers in Marvel now?
Well, to be honest, it was just that he solved the riddle of Fantastic Four and found an incredible fan base for a team book that no matter what we'd done, we'd produced a lot of quality work, but it had never caught fire the way that it did with Jonathan. So just the idea of putting him on our ultimate team book and seeing what worked, it was just the obvious choice. The great thing about Jonathan, as Arune says, is he has a plan in his mind for 7 or 8 years down the road. He thinks big. He always goes big or goes home. And in the aftermath of Avengers versus X-Men, the Avengers are going to have some hard questions to ask themselves about who they are, what they stand for, and how they're composited. A key member is going to have to go off on a very personal trek. So Jonathan's ideas are perfectly appropriate for the Avengers at this moment in time, especially in the aftermath of the Avengers movie.
Now, speaking of the Fantastic Four, that's a tough act to follow, but I really think CB, Axel, and then Tom Bremer, who's editor on the book, really found the perfect creative team. It is Matt Fraction and Mark Bagley. This is going to be a crazy fun book. It's very different from what Jonathan Hickman did in Fantastic Four and blazing its own trail. It's the Fantastic Four going on a family road trip through time and through space, like any good family, and encountering some very shocking truths, not only about themselves, but the nature of the Marvel Universe. And this is a really, really big book that ties into a sister book. And what happens here is that they leave through the portal for what's going to only be about 4 minutes in our time. So if you were standing outside that portal, they'd be gone for 4 minutes. Fantastic Four, however, will be gone for a lot of longer time because that's how the time-space continuum works, of course. While they're gone for those 4 minutes, the Fantastic Four each have someone to stand in their place because 4 minutes is an eternity in the Fantastic Four's world, and they can't leave the Baxter Building unguarded or the Earth unguarded. God forbid Galactus show up. So they each pick their own team, which will be shown in FF by Matt Fraction and Mike Allred. And that is Scott Lang as Ant-Man, who Reed picks, Medusa from the Inhumans, who Sue picks, She-Hulk, the only Hulk that Ben Grimm could never beat because he would never hit a woman. And I stole that line from Matt. And then Johnny Storm, because he is the most responsible of young men, picks the girl he just had a one-night stand with. And she is, are we calling her Miss Thing, or what is she called? Yeah, Miss Thing. And she's in a Thing exoskeleton. And this is a crazy book. If you guys remember what Mike Allred did with Ecstatics and X-Force back in the day, along with Peter Milligan, and the aesthetic he brings to the book, this is going to be a crazy fun book. You look at this book, and it's one of the most evocative Marvel Now books because there's new costumes, new logo, new everything. And this, again, is another pitch. And Steve, I'm going to go to you because you don't work on this book, but I know you were one of the guys who really was into Matt's pitch in Fantastic Four. What really made it resonate with you?
I think that Matt is sort of writing his family, like the adventures he would imagine for his family. Matt thinks very big and is able to find the small human moments within those big stories. So it's the kind of book where you can really put yourself into it. It's a real fun adventure. That's why I dug this pitch, and it seemed to really come from his heart.
So guys, we're going to move into questions now. Want to hear from you guys. What questions do you have? You want to know about where characters are going to be, what new books are coming up? Maybe it'll even con us into revealing something we shouldn't. So raise your hands and we'll go. Jenna, right there.
So far, with the exception of Fantastic Four, all the new stuff we've talked about has to do with either Avengers or X-Men. In Marvel now, we're going to see some other teams that have been out there, maybe haven't been talked about a bit, like, say, Alpha Flight, Avengers, maybe Alpha Flight?
You will definitely see other teams. We're not going to lie to you. There's no Alpha Flight Marvel Now plan at the moment. Someone just clapped for that.
Must be American.
But in a couple weeks, Axel, you're going to be hearing about a lot of surprising team books with some very surprising
Lineups.
Very surprising lineups. And keep in mind, when you look at that image we showed from Marvel Now, and I'll bring it back up on the screen here, Rocket Raccoon is there. Cable's there. A very different looking Spider-Man is there. There's reasons for all these costume changes. There's reason why those characters are there. And I think you're going to be very happy when you find out the answers.
I was at the company last night, and a lot of people were asking him if he had any interest in everything, Deadpool or anything like that. And I just wondering if you guys have ever heard that on your end, where people are...
What did he say?
He said that it would be an honor and stuff, but apparently a lot of people have been asking him about it, saying they would be a perfect mix. I'm just wondering if you guys that's ever come up.
The question was that Kevin Smith said he was interested in writing Deadpool, and have we ever thought about
Kevin's
that?
never mentioned that to me,
No,
and he's got my phone number. So Kevin, yeah.
I asked him about that last night. He says he's never read a Deadpool comic. He's thinking about it. Jason Mewes is a big fan, but he's never read it and he's never firsthand about it.
Jason Mewes has read it. Jason Mewes is a huge fan.
All right, you two. All right, you
Check it
two.
outside.
Kevin Smith fights.
Yeah, right now we're really happy with our creative team. I couldn't be happy with Brian and Jerry and what's his face on the book right now. And not to mention Jeff Darrow on covers. Wow, talk about a rock star.
Yeah, there's no one better at drawing crazy zombie presidents, or zombies in general, than Tony Moore. It looks incredible. All right.
Is Catherine Immonen going to be writing for Marvel again anytime soon?
Yes, we announced a book. She's writing Journey into Mystery. It'll start SIF. It begins in November, and that Journey into Mystery becomes a SIF series now. All written by Catherine. Do we have anything else planned that we should tease? Hint?
That's it for...
Okay, that's the thing then. The Hydra dude? Oh. My vision's terrible, so I apologize.
Your vision's really terrible.
I thought it was a yellow thing and a mask. And okay, don't kill me, Hulk.
Why remember Hulk? Hulk just renumbered.
Hulk can only count to 10. I mean, here's the real answer, assuming you're not really the Hulk. And just that little bit. The fact is that our readers and our retailing community react to a #1. And I think the earthquake here in terms of the creative change in the Marvel Universe is big enough that it justified the #1s to make sure we were sending the message that this is the time to jump on. It's important for us as a business that people understand that this is the time to jump on. And unfortunately, we don't live in the world where people get that message when it's issue 17. We can massage that from time to time and make it work, but it's issue 1 because it's important, and our job now is to make it worthy of being a #1.
And we're only putting a #1 on a book that meets specific criteria, which Hulk definitely meets.
Yeah, we have a lot of other great books, like Kelly Sue DeConnick taking over Avengers Assemble, Catherine Immonen taking over Journey into Mystery. Some really awesome other creative shifts, but certain books have #1, certain other ones didn't. But the thing is, we want to evolve all our products, and we want to make sure people are paying attention. That #1 really helps. The red over there. Yes.
You guys are talking a lot about all the fallout from all the AVX stuff. I was wondering if you can tell us anything about how that's going to affect X-Force.
It will certainly affect X-Force, but not in ways that we can talk about yet. But it's really cool.
I'd say, Nick, we're going to say something about 2 weeks, right? That sounds right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll just say for the record, it dawned on me one day, I'd actually launched X-Force books 3 times. The Milligan Allred X-Statics X-Force, the Craig Kyle Chris Yost, Clayton Crane X-Force, that was Pulse Messiah Complex, and the more recent Rick Remender, Jerome Pena. And it's one of the more resilient titles we've got right now, and I think part of it is that we always cast very carefully, and we make sure that the book has a very strong mission statement that readers understand right away. And I think what we've got planned for the future will satisfy that criteria.
In spades.
Right here.
Anything going to happen with the Feature Foundation?
I'm not sure. Actually, what are the plans for the Feature Foundation post or Marvel Now?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. There'll still be a presence. That's one of the reasons why Reed and the rest of them pick the new FF to stick around, is also to keep tabs on the future foundation.
They'll be a part of that FF book.
Okay, next. Sure.
How much did the DC reboot affect your Marvel now, if any, with their increased sales?
The only thing I learned from the DC reboot is if you slap a #1, people pay attention to it. That's where I think all comparisons end. Inspiration for this is very much what we did way back when, 11 years ago, when Joe Quesada came in as editor-in-chief. I came here shortly after that, CB, any number of people. And we took the approach that we would take a great writer, a great artist, and say, give us your best story. And over the years, we've done that a few times. We've had any number of #1s we're proud of. But we haven't done anything line-wide like this. Coming in as editor-in-chief, it was an agenda for me that we would put ourselves in position to do something like this. And it just so happened that Avengers versus X-Men provided us with that opportunity. So it was early on when we were talking about Avengers versus X-Men, and we had a vague sense of the landing. We knew, this is the moment now, guys. If not now, never. And that's when everybody started to realize that odds are you're going to be writing something new. Start thinking about what it is and what it is that excites you. So really the only comparison I have, the only comparison I think you can make between these two is that we're putting #1s on our issues. That's it.
I think the other side of your question, asking about sales, I think when anything like New 52 happens or Avengers vs. X-Men happens, something big that gets attention in comics, it's what they say about a rising tide is going to lift all the boats. And for us, I think everybody across the industry benefits when people come to buy comics. All the companies have to be healthy, or this industry isn't healthy as a whole.
Yeah, last year was a very good year for the industry. Between the New 52 and Avengers vs. X-Men, I think retailers did quite well.
And frankly, if you look at how periodical sales are going right now, and the numbers coming out about magazines, how they're dropping in double digits, to see comics on the rise, I think speaks not only to the quality of work we're producing, but the great fans who've stuck by, who spend their hard-earned money. So thank you guys all for supporting our books in what is really a tough economic time. So thank you guys.
Have you ever considered bringing back Spider-Man 2099?
Yes. Absolutely. Are you wearing that costume?
Yeah.
Stand up, kid. Look at this thing.
Damn. Nice.
That is awesome. Yes, there have been several email chains about this particular subject. So stay tuned and wear that to school.
Right here, black.
yeah, absolutely. Hey, who's that crazy lady next to you?
I was curious if there's going to be any more stability of the shipping schedules, because I find that a lot of the titles will double ship 1 month, and then there'll be maybe 1 issue for that same title the month after, and then back to 2 issues in a month. Is there going to be any definite plans to say this is a double shipping title, or is it just going to be kind of all over the place?
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing. We're multi-shipping. We put out more than 12 a year based on talent assignments and artist availability and story arcs and where we need to land. We decide how to divvy them up, month to month. But you guys respond to this. You like it. We figure if we've got quality material, why limit it to 1 per month?
And sometimes it just comes down to the stories that the creators want to tell and getting them told in time. Like in Wolverine and the X-Men, we hadn't planned to do as many issues before AVX as we did, but because Jason and Chris and Nick Bradshaw wanted to get to a certain point before they started tying into AVX, we aggressively raised the amount of issues we were going to ship to make sure that book had its solid foundation before heading into the crossover, basically. And sometimes we don't want to do full-on double shipping bi-weekly book, and that's just kind of how we do it. We try to plan it as easily understandable as we can, but
do you see the solicitations every month that we release?
I see the solicitations. It's just that, as with the last question, when you said, with the tough economic times, it's hard to spend a budget on amount of comics each month.
Understood.
Titles are double shipping one month, and then one issue's coming out the next month, and then 3 issues come out the next month. So that's the
Right.
reason I asked.
We do this. We announce it in solicitation, so 3 months ahead of time. Like there's 2 issues coming out this month. There's 1 issue coming out. We only have a couple books that actually ship 2 months, 2 issues every single month. Spider-Man, and that. Oh, I guess that's it.
Well, we have Avengers Academy has been, I think regularly. You're right. Spider-Man's the only one we have planned all the time.
And the perfect solution is just to not buy any more DC or other publisher books. I mean, I think that's. It should be pretty easy to just figure out what just don't. You don't need to read those.
I want you to buy Marvel comics.
I think you bring up a good point. We're with Marvel now. I think it'll be very clear how this will ship. Some books are going to ship twice a month. Other months are going to ship once. But I think we don't want a book where it goes twice a month, once a month, and 3 times a month, because that's really hard. But no, we appreciate you sticking by. We know how hard it is, so thank you. Right here.
I know you're not going to actually name anything, but are there actually going to be any completely new titles coming out of Marvel now as opposed to just restarting the title?
Yes.
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 How many?
5. No.
8. But we just announced at the Spider-Man panel, we announced a new book, Morbius, the Living Vampire. So that's coming up. Other stuff we probably can't announce yet.
Yeah, I think when you see what comes out in December, you're going to be, a lot of it's going to seem, between December and Feb, there's a lot of those books fall into the new category that are really, really exciting.
Chubby Deadpool 1s in Tony's mind right now.
With Cable's condition kind of improving, is there a Cable and Deadpool on the horizon?
There's not a Cable and Deadpool on the horizon, but there is a lot of Cable stuff coming up. So keep your eyes peeled.
Squirrel Girl.
At the very back there.
Yeah, do we have any update on the Runaways?
This is actually a question we've been asked at every single panel. There'll be Runaways characters showing up in places, but sadly there's not any new Runaways book launching. It's something a lot of us and staff, most of us, are interested in trying to do more at some point, but it needs to be perfect, and we need to wait and hit at the right time and at the right place, because there are a lot of challenges in hand with it too.
We can't say, I think it's fair to say, beginning in December, there will be an ongoing series that features at least a couple of the Runaways in a major character role in a way that may anger some people, but it's going to be really, really exciting. And you'll hear about it soon. We can't tell you yet. Next would be Armor Hand.
Are there Secret Wars going to pop up anywhere?
Secret Wars going to pop up?
What's Secret Wars? Oh, Secret Warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Daisy, aren't you?
Yes.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, they'll be showing, some of the characters will be showing up. It won't be a Secret Warriors book, but you'll see a couple of the characters in pretty sizable roles in some books.
With the Runaways?
Yeah. The Secret Runaways.
All right. Blue shirt.
With Joss Whedon and the Avengers, and he asked if he's going to be signed to a contract with Marvel for a couple of years, will you be involved more with comics or just the movies and TV?
Well, it's really easy to direct movies. It doesn't take much time or much, commitment, especially if you're writing and directing it. I mean,
He directed one this morning.
yeah, and it's fantastic. It'll be released in 2014, but I can't talk much about it. But yeah, we would love that. But I think he's got his hands pretty full with writing and directing the sequel to the 3rd biggest movie of all time.
Right. There. Yep. Yeah.
Can you give us a couple of hints besides Spider-Man's new costume of what his role is going to be in Marvel now?
Who said it's going to be a he?
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at.
Spider-Man.
Look at some of the costumes around this convention, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
No, I can't. I'm not going to, and I won't.
No, I think you can.
I can say that Avenging Spider-Man in December, the new regular writer, Chris Yost,
Christ, Dios. Who has been credited that way accidentally once?
By who?
No comment.
He takes over Avenging Spider-Man, so he'll be in Spider-Man's world. But I can't say much about what's happening in the book. But I'll tell you who I would love to put in there: Alpha Flight and Runaways.
And we did say at the Spider-Man panel, once you read that book, Dan Slott will be inundated with hate mail. He's going to have to stop tweeting. He will only be able to just hide in his house.
Steve hopes it'll turn in more scripts.
He'll only be able to write scripts and watch Doctor Who in his apartment because you guys will be there with pitchforks. Blue? Yeah.
I was wondering, something that struck out with me was in the Indestructible Hulk series, Hulk was coming from Maria Hill. Is that possibly a prelude to Hulk Smulders appearing in Maria Hill in the next Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie?
What? There's a Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie? Are you announcing it? Are you announcing a Hulk movie?
There's no connection between this Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk, make an announcement of Hulk movie.
Hulk, do it, sure, come.
Hulk bought new movies.
There's no connection between the Incredible Hulk series and any plans there may or may not be for a Hulk movie. Honestly, half the time, guys, we find out about the movie same way you do. I found out about the Cap being called Winter Soldier after it was announced. Including a lot of people did because they're very secretive about it. But Mark had a great idea for a series that happens to just tie into, I think, the tenor and the graphic.
Yeah, Mark really loved Mark Waid really loved Ruffalo's performance, and he really keyed into that when he was pitching the book to us. So, in that sense, there will be a connection.
Okay. Who has not asked a question yet? I want to make sure we got right there.
Yeah, I really like
Morris. This guy won the Marvel game show yesterday.
I'm great. Yeah.
Yep. His name's Morris.
I really enjoyed Ramon Perez's work on John Carter, Gods of Mars. Like the layouts were great. Are there any plans for using him in Marvel now?
You mean Eisner winning? Ramon Perez? Yeah. Toronto's own? Let's hear it for Ramon Perez, guys.
Announcements will be made. Possibly soon.
Would you say to come to the panel that you're appearing on tomorrow?
There will be a Marvel panel tomorrow. That there might be an announcement being made, perhaps, perchance.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Okay, yellow shirt.
You guys are doing Deadpool versus DC. When you say you make Marvel feeling say maybe you could just go to the Justice League.
Or for Avengers vs. Justice.
And I hate to say, but I'm a big DC fan.
What? You want us to answer that?
I like Marvel and I like that. You like
Okay.
Well, before we consider that, we'd have to ask ourselves the hard question: what's in it for us?
Axel and I both used to work. Axel and I both used to work at DC, so there's a little bit of our hearts there too. The Avengers fought JLA about 10 years ago. I don't know why I sound unsure. I worked on it. But there's no plans for anything like that right now.
Okay, guys, that was actually the last question. We were just told we have to wrap up. Thank you guys. You've been amazing. We have a really awesome giveaway hour from 6 to 7 today at the Marvel booth.
And the game show is about to begin.
And the game show is about to begin. You could be Nick Lowe's wingman. Or
I'm the host.
Steve Westler's wingman. Win some stuff.
My wife is here, Arune.